Hey, Sabrina. Sabrina. Okay.
Thanks so much for coming.
I'm just about 6:45.
Absolutely. Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah, thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I love seeing you guys. Is this yours? Okay, great. I just like, I'm fixing to get work with someone.
No, it's a good one.
I had to pick up my son. Tried to meet him tonight. I was like, you guys will
Probably 4 of the walking part. You have to dip out. So once you see Ben, like go to senior, once you dip out once you say, hopefully 3. One more.
Are they?
Next week from tomorrow. Charlotte, UNC Charlotte.
So next year, next fall, I'm gonna judge. And I'll do it here. I mean, I don't know anything about it at all.
I have like judge training materials. So you all you need to do is go there and you're going to observe, and then like do some basic things like feedback. Yeah, it'll be very good. It's fun. I think it's always very fun for people to have more experience to review the thing before you see the class.
Well, I got to see at the UAB meeting.
I think it's Natalie now.
He did. He did. I can't say the word.
Oh, is that Brainius?
Is that where someone like gave him an idea and he like, and I was like, oh my god. Okay. Well, see, this is good. I'm seeing this.
Oh, I think it's
Yeah, I heard about
Why would I
I mean, I guess I could see some with the art history and the architecture part, I'm working on getting you guys some swag for the summer. We got a hard no on the someone, but then I don't know swag just in case.
the thing is,
That's true. Whatever that does not align with me, we'll figure out by some like you I know, maybe, I don't know, camp will share, or else they like they might put it down.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Yeah, all right. Thank you all so very much for being here this evening for night 2 of our pre-national showcases. Thank you to those of you who've been here multiple nights now, and so we'll have one more of these tomorrow night. So last night we had 6 different performers. Tonight you get 6 different ones as well. And so for a little bit of understanding for those of you that are not familiar with forensics, we derive our definition from bringing evidence before the public. And so tonight you're going to be saying speeches in 3 different genres. Oral interpretation of literature. I've got some of my students in here. That's great. Public address, and limited preparation speaking. Our first speaker this evening will be performing a communication analysis speech. What this speech does is she has selected a communication artifact, by that being something that is communicating a message, and then she has selected an academic model through which to view and better understand that artifact. It's going to be way more entertaining than the way I just described it. So our first speaker, Sophia Achter.
Amika Moda was soaked in sweat and exhausted after she, alongside 5 other women, wielded a massive fire hose and attempted to tame a wildfire in Madera, California. Afterward, Moda climbed into a van with her fellow firefighters as they were shuttled back to Central California Women's Prison. Inquest, June 4th, 2024 explains, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, or CDCR, has been running its conservation camp program for over a century, making inmates a cornerstone of California's firefighting capabilities. According to the CDCR, their California model of incarceration focuses on rehabilitation, education, and reentry. But as a former inmate tells Mother Jones on January 17, 2025, in the program, you're still incarcerated. They're just dangling shiny keys over you like a monkey. Considering Forbes, January 10, 2025 notes, inmates make up a third of California's wildfire workforce. We must ask, how does the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation rhetorically reframe inmate regulation as rehabilitation? To answer, we'll turn to Stephen Vallis, Hannah Johnston, and Yana Mamadova's research. Prime Suspect, Mechanisms of Labor Control in Amazon's Warehouses, published in the 2022 edition of Work and Occupations. Vallis et al.'s model proves ideal because they analyze Amazon's communication and framing of employee policies to manipulate their workforce. We'll first analyze Vallis et al.'s model before applying it to the CDCR's conservation camp program and drawing implications. Because as the aforementioned inquest writes, to uplift these camps as a blueprint is not to fix the U.S. prison system, but to transmute its phantom reach. Amazon uses highly coercive labor control mechanisms, but they also strategically avoid overt coercion, focusing instead on gaining employee consent to engage in exploitative labor. Vallis et al. Identify 3 such mechanisms they refer to as hegemonic labor controls: normative, governmental, and relational. First, normative control leverages a worker's sense of identity to manipulate their output. Vallis et al. Illustrate, When an employee embraces the virtue of hard work as a core part of their identity, companies can exploit this mindset. Amazon offers symbolic rewards rather than financial benefits to gain active consent, aligning employee motivations with corporate goals. Next, governmental control employs formal organizational rules that give the illusion of individual agency to obscure exploitation. The authors further, Amazon grants certain freedoms to employees who meet company expectations while denying workers with previous performance issues these same benefits. Amazon's management denies true agency while reframing compliance as freedom. Finally, relational control preys on employees who have experienced labor insecurity. Vallis et al. Found workers in this position didn't view their employment as an economic transaction, but as a gift bestowed upon them by Amazon. Despite hazardous working conditions, employees expressed gratitude for being granted a job. Now that we've analyzed Vallis et al.'s model, let's examine the CDCR's Conservation Camp program, applying their research. First, normative control. The CDCR leverages inmates' sense of identity to manipulate labor output. NBC News, January 13, 2025 explains, inmates find the job extremely rewarding, tying firefighting pride to personal identity. The CDCR capitalizes on this connection to justify paying workers $5 to $10 a day while emphasizing the skills they offer inmates for future employment. NBC News continues, formerly incarcerated firefighters face major hurdles to employment after release, essentially making these skills a symbolic reward. The CDCR elicits active consent by aligning inmate identities with the state's goal, saving millions and fulfilling our first tenet. Next, governmental control. The CDCR's Conservation Camp program employs a formal volunteer-based structure that gives the illusion of inmate agency to obscure the exploitative nature of prison labor. As explained by the BBC, January 10, 2025, conservation camps offer inmates marginally better living conditions compared to California's notoriously dangerous, overcrowded prisons. The New York Times, January 11, 2025 adds, the program is open to volunteers on the basis of sustained good behavior and constant program participation. Inmates risk life and limb because they know, make one mistake and any ounce of freedom gets ripped away, fulfilling our second tenet. Finally, relational control. The conservation camp program model preys on inmate job insecurity. Former inmate Rashid Lockhart explains on October 1st, 2020, San Quentin's inmate firefighter program only admitted 9 to 12 applicants each year, making it a coveted position. Lockhart continues, he applied to escape the politics and culture of prison. Another inmate, Joshua Daniel Bly, adds, we work hard because we are grateful, because we were given the opportunity. To them, low wages, long hours, and dangerous conditions don't matter because they feel lucky, fulfilling our third tenet. Now that we've applied Vallis et al.'s model, let's return to our research question. How does the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation rhetorically reframe inmate regulation as rehabilitation? While the CDCR rhetorically constructs a path towards rehabilitation through meaningful work, the conditions of the program reinforce a penal framework that undermines rehabilitation by simply bringing the prison outdoors, leading us to two implications: the government as a business and climate carceralism. First, the government as a business. The CDCR already employs the same labor control mechanisms as Amazon, but this is just one of the many growing parallels between the public and private sectors. In these times, November 14, 2024 explains, right-wing businessmen like Donald Trump and Elon Musk insist the government should be run like a business, with a focus on cost savings. But Business Insider, September 14, 2024 points out, This misunderstands a key aspect of U.S. federalism. Profit isn't the point of government. Public service is. If the government is a business, success means profit, not public good. And programs like the Conservation Camp program will continue reducing inmates to a bottom line. Finally, climate carceralism. Scientific American, July 14, 2023 highlights, California's wildfires are burning 5 times more land than they did 50 years ago, a number that's going to grow by 50% in the next 25 years. Prison labor proves an enticing solution to fighting intensifying climate disasters. The Atlantic, July 27, 2021 reports, conservation camps save California roughly $100 million each year. According to the Georgia Recorder, April 18, 2024, inmates are the first responders in 35 of Georgia's counties. They aren't paid at all. Sacramento County Sheriff Scott Jones puts it best in 2021. If the state kept more people in prison, there would be plenty of people for fire crews. In a country reliant on incarcerated labor to fight its climate catastrophe, citizens can either be sacrificed to the disasters fueled by our institutions or the prisons built by them. Moda still praises the work she did while incarcerated, but doesn't give prison any credit for the changes she's made in her life since. After analyzing Vallis et al.'s model, applying it to the CDCR's Conservation Camp program, and drawing implications, we understand rehabilitation relies not on rhetoric nor exploitation, but on giving people a well-deserved second chance. Nearly 1,200 inmates fought California's flames. They deserve better than redemption by fire.
Thank you so much, Sophia. So that was an example of one of the public address events. We're now going to shift genres over to oral interpretation of literature. Our next event is going to be a dramatic interpretation. Last evening, we watched a prose interpretation in which the material was not intended to be performed. This material was intended to be performed. What our student has done is she has edited down a longer work to a 10-minute performance, and she's going to be holding a black book, not because she doesn't have it memorized or know what she's talking about, but it's to represent that this is someone else's words that she's using. So please welcome our next speaker, Ella Seaton.
How are you today? Good. We have someone that doesn't have to worry. Where is my room? It's all going up there somewhere. You know, I'm trying to do my best to let you know what I'm thinking, but I just don't know. I've lost it. Did you catch it? What is Alzheimer's? Alzheimer's is in the family of... I've lost it again. I'll have to start all over. That's the way it works sometimes. Alzheimer's is the person who goes down and tries to feel it once again. No, I wouldn't call it a sad thing. More of a get out of my way kind of thing. I'm not going to sing on it. I'm just going to show it to you and let you have what you want from it. Rural communities face a disproportionate access to end-of-life care. Alzheimer's Disease International reports that the population of those suffering from Alzheimer's is expected to double between 2020 and 2040, largely due to lack of access to care. An early diagnosis is heavily reliant on one zip code, and an early diagnosis increases eligibility for clinical trials and specialized treatments. Scott Kirschenbaum's documentary, the first to ever be filmed in an Alzheimer's care unit, sheds light on this disease and how it impacts the final stages of life. You're looking at me like I live here, and I don't. By Scott Kirschenbaum. Go ahead and sit right there. No, I have always loved this one. This is getting awfully heavy for a little old lady. This is mine, and that's where it's going. Hello. Do I need to see if I can find you somebody? Okay. You know, I have always loved this one. This is the one I got married in. It was about a year after, because I had a whole other list of things that I was doing. Where is my husband? He died. He died in God, what is the matter with me? I miss him. And, you know, I guess I will all along. He used to give me things, you know. Good life. I don't know how else to say it, but the air was good. These are my babies. I have a lot of babies. The face is so worn out on this one, you can't even see it anymore. You can't laugh at them. Mama's not doing too well today. This is a birthday card from someone else who was staying here at one time. May your day be filled with sunrise that warms you from the start. May every hour bring peace into your heart. That was a long time ago. No. It says, Mom. Happy birthday, Mom. What makes me happy? Love. That's a damn good thing to start with. My husband. My children. No, not anymore. But just because, you know, it started at the beginning and I was home and now I'm here. And my son said to me, Mom, what do you mean? They've got the windows open. You yourself, you know, people like that. And then my son sat me down one day and he said, Mom, things aren't looking quite good. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? Then he said what he felt. And I said what I felt. And I got it. I understood. And then my son, he yelled at me and he said, "What the hell is the matter with you? Tell me. Why won't you tell me?" You know, I think it's pretty ridiculous what we're doing here today. Come here, baby. There's a whole lot of things that I never took from this place. And I miss them. And I feel lost here. I mean, you're looking at me like I live here, and I don't. We're done here, right? I'm tired. I'm so tired, and I don't know who I am or why I'm here or why these people keep doing these things to me. And you know, one day you got to realize that there's not going to be anyone left, and all you're going to be able to do is just lie there and look at the table. And I don't want to see it, and I don't want to know it, and that I need you to be somewhere else. You aren't going to stay with me, so I need you to be somewhere else. And I've made up my mind about it. You can take all of these things with you. I don't need them. I don't need them because I don't believe. Because I lose it in my eyes. And I know that you don't see it, but when I see it, it's the truth. Whatever you want to take from it, but when I see it, it's the truth. This person, he was there by himself that day. Oh, no, there's his wife and his kid. You know, when those two first got together, none of us thought it was going to last. Hell, what do I know? Where am I in the photo? Well, I'm not in that photo.
Thank you so much, Ella. Now we're going to give you a taste of our third genre, which is limited preparation speaking. Our next speaker had no idea what he was going to be saying 30 minutes before he came in here. So he was given a panel of 3 different questions, all dealing with current events. And so he drew one of those, and 30 minutes ago at 5:50, he started his preparation. I'll make sure he's actually out here before I introduce him. Please welcome our next speaker, Luke Pollack. I'll be giving you your time signals. So Luke will have 7 minutes in total. I'll be giving you time signals. I'll count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 minute left. This is my 30, my 15. I'll give you the last 5.
Eons ago, in 1984, a Christmas song, "Do They Know It's Christmas Time?" came on the radio. It was designed to be a fundraiser for the famine in Ethiopia, waging and killing millions of children, and it was widely considered a success. It raised over $8 million. And you might think around 40 years later, maybe Ethiopia would be better off. But this time, instead of facing famine, they're facing war. As explained by Africa Strategy Center, on March 20th of 2025, Ethiopia has basically been in a civil war since 2020, when their prime minister, Abiy Ahmed, declared war on a political party known as the Tigray Liberation Front, or TLF for short. This party is widely considered to be a separatist group, representing the northern region of Ethiopia known as the Tigray region, a group widely known for their ethnic differences from the mainland of Ethiopia. But this conflict has gotten out of control. Instead of being a war against a separatist group, it's widely been considered to be a genocidal war, killing over 600,000 people and relocating 3 million people from their homes. And the conflict hasn't been isolated to Ethiopia, with neighboring countries like Somalia and Eritrea now sending on troops, hoping to capitalize on Ethiopia's instability to assert their own dominance. Meanwhile, a group known as the African Union, which represents over 50 countries in Africa and is designed to stop conflicts like this from happening, have been criticized for doing nothing at all. Considering, if this war continues by 2027, it is estimated that it will kill 1 million people and relocate 5 million people, we must ask today's question. That being, what steps can the African Union take to avoid another devastating conflict in the Tigray region of Ethiopia? Our answer: the African Union must prevent political tensions from becoming military conflicts. They can do this by following 3 simple steps. First, diplomatic mediations. Next, security interventions. And finally, inclusive politics. But first, if the African Union seeks to prevent conflicts like this from happening, they must engage in diplomatic mediations, something they have largely been unfavorable with doing when it comes to the TLF. As Al Jazeera on February 17th of 2025 notes, the African Union has always been favorable to Ethiopia, as they were actually started in 1963 in Ethiopia. They have been hesitant to ever criticize Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and instead have widely considered this conflict as something that just needs to be fixed by Ethiopia itself. In their most recent statement regarding the issue, they said that all parties must meet their own obligations. Instead of calling for a ceasefire, they widely consider the TLF to be an insurgent, separatist, and terrorist group, instead of a party that seeks to represent its own people. And this conflict has gotten even worse, because as Brookings on March 18th of 2025 notes, the African Union has not held a diplomatic relation regarding Ethiopia since 2022. Over 3 years of this conflict since they last met, and 5 years of its total existence, the African Union has done nothing to meet the TLF and Ethiopia to the diplomatic table, leaving this conflict to be in the hands of military insurgents instead of politicians and diplomats who actually seek to lessen the conflict. But next, we can look to this idea of security interventions. There were warning signs long before 2020 that a conflict like this would take place, something the African Union could have and is designed to prevent. CNN on February 18th of 2025 notes, in 2019, Somalia and Eritrea sent over 20,000 troops armed with helicopters, tanks, and machine guns to the Tigray region, after the TLF requested military assistance from these countries against increasing aggressions from Ethiopia. The reason for this: the TLF is not a military. They have no standing army of their own, leaving the Tigray region without any military representation. Because of this, any actor that seeks to uphold political power in this region has the opportunity to do so by sending military assistance, something the African Union can and should prevent. As the Council on Foreign Relations on March 12th of 2025 notes, the African Union has over 1 million troops across the countries of the African Union pledged to support them in the case that there is a military void in some area or region. By ensuring that security interventions are conducted by the African Union and not political insurgents like Somalia and Eritrea, who simply seek to uphold their political power in a region but never ask for their representation, the African Union can stop wars like this from happening in the future by engaging in security interventions. But finally, we have this idea of inclusive politics. One of the underlying issues regarding this war is not something about political power. It is simply representation within Ethiopia, something that the ruling party seeks to prohibit. As explained by Foreign Policy on February 20th of 2025, in the wake of this war in 2020, over 3 million Tigrayans were disenfranchised or excluded from political participation because of their alleged ties to the TLF separatist party. Even if they had nothing to do with this party, their mere ethnicity as Tigrayans discounted them from participating in political procedures, meaning their ruling party, or Abiy Ahmed, was allowed a swift victory, something he wasn't projected to actually do beforehand. Because of this, the ruling party has essentially disenfranchised Tigrayans and other ethnic groups from being able to participate in their political procedures. The African Union must stop this, because it's the Center for Strategic and International Studies on March 10th of 2025 notes, there are over 110 million people in Ethiopia, over 80 ethnic groups, and over 90 languages represented. All of these people deserve a seat at the political table. And as long as they are excluded from political parties, we will see these groups resort to war instead of peace and political efforts to resolve their conflicts, making our third reason as to why the African Union must engage in inclusive politics to stop wars like this from happening in the future. In retrospect, upon returning to today's question, that being, what steps can the African Union take to avoid another devastating conflict in the Tigray region of Ethiopia? We saw our answer, that the African Union must prevent political tension from turning into military conflict through diplomatic mediations, security interventions, and inclusive politics. Do They Know It's Christmas Time was a wise and generous effort to try to stop this conflict from engaging in something even worse. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, leaving political parties like the African Union with the opportunity to stop such conflicts.
Thank you so much, Luke. We're going to shift back over to oral interpretation of literature events with poetry interpretation. And if you can guess, they use poetry for this one. So what our speaker has done is she has selected multiple pieces of poetry and she's woven them together around a central theme. She will also be using the Black Book and providing her own introduction for it. And now for me to give her an introduction, our next speaker, Brooklyn Woods.
Dark phrases of womanhood, of never having been a girl, half notes scattered with no rhythm, no tune, distraught laughter hanging over a black girl's shoulder. Do, 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 do. Ever since I realized that there was someone called a colored girl, an evil woman, a bitch, or a nag, I've been trying not to be all of those things because my love is too magic to be thrown back in my face. Do, 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 do. If I'm still alive, I don't want to write in English. I want to dance, dance, make you scream. Twitch your hips with me because I was missing something. Something promised. I was missing something. Something free. A laying on of hands. Fingers near my forehead. Moving. Making me feel whole. I used to live in a world where I could dance, a dance with no partners. And this is who I am. For Black women, dance and movement serve as a form of cathartic resistance. In Marquita de Jesus, 2023 writing in the International Journal of Arts Education, they add that during the Jim Crow period, one of the largest reclamations of the collective Black identity came through embodied forms of activism, specifically dance and performance. Dance serves as a cultural healing and liberating form for Black women, a therapeutic space that promotes emotional, social, cognitive, and physical well-being. Dance allows Black women a safe and collective space to not only heal from their traumas, but find their true identities with women who understand them. In this choreo poem, for colored girls who considered suicide when the rainbow was enough, author Nazaki Shung combines choreography and poetry, taking each of our own individual experiences and morphing us into a collective power. So, through this single script poem, an invitation, inviting you to experience the story that our bodies have always known. It's funny. It's hysterical. The melodylessness of her dance don't tell nobody Don't tell a soul another song with no singers, lyrics. I want a world. Our whole bodies whipping and rambling through space. Swing your head with me and push your leg to the moon. I had to bring the dance, the terror, the scars I had masked with smiles. I don't have any more tricks. I was missing something. Something promised. Something free, a laying on of hands, laying on of bodies, laying me open to myself. I brought you with joy. I found it, baby. I found joy. Honest fingertips moving near my face. So I went somewhere where somebody had something for me. Cause my love is to music, to be thrown back in my face, and you promised me. Sing a black girl's song, sing of her rhythms, bring her out, to know herself, to know you. I can make the music loud. So there is no me, but dance, and when I dance a dance like this, my love is too magic to be thrown back in my face. We got to dance to keep from crying. We got to dance to keep from dying. So come on, do you see the point? My spirit was colored and hurt, and I convinced myself that colored girls had no right to sorrow. So I lived, and I loved that way, and I kept sorrow on the curb. I was missing something. I wanted to jump out of my body and be done with myself. Leave me alone and go on with the wind. It was too much. I am a colored girl, no longer symmetrical or impervious to pain. So I danced. Out into oblivion, and oblivion wasn't even far enough. I was missing something. I was tired of being colored and hurt at the same time, half notes scattered, with no rhythm, no tune. Sing her sighs, sing her song of possibilities, sing of her righteous gospel, and let her be born and handled warmly. So come on. Come, share the world with you. Come, share the world with me. We come here to be dancing, to be dancing, to be dancing, to be dancing. I don't want to dance with ghosts. I want to make myself pure again. I was ready to die, so this is a requiem for myself. Because I have died in a real way. I was so tired of being colored and sorry at the same time. Sing her song of life. She's been dead for so long, closed in silence for so long, she doesn't know the sound of her own voice. Her infinite beauty. Let her be born and handled warmly. The sun wrapped me up, and the sky laid over me like a million men. I was cold, I was burning up, and endlessly weaving garments for the moon with my tears. I found God in myself, and I loved her fiercely. This is for colored girls who are dancing and moving to the ends of their own rainbows.
Thank you so much, Brooklyn. So we're going to shift back over to limited preparation speaking, and we're going to have impromptu speaking. For this event, our student, again, will have no idea what he's going to be talking about. So, Stephen, please leave. Get out of here. So for impromptu speaking, our students are provided with typically a quotation. And I'm going to farm it out to you all. Last night, we had some great options. We had Drake, Tolkien, Fortnite. And so, again, tonight, it's going to be up to you all. In the past, we've had everything from Cardi B to Bad Baby or whatever. So what are some quotations that you all would like to hear this evening? Yes.
I desire the things which will destroy me in the end. Sylvia Plath.
Ooh, Sylvia Plath. I desire the things that will destroy me in the end. Fantastic. All right, we've got one option.
Yo, his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy.
Eminem, yeah. So, knees heavy, mom spaghetti. That sounds good. All right, so we've got Sylvia Plath, Eminem. We've got another option. Yes.
Don't be useful, be useless, so nobody can use you. Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu, great. So don't be useful, be useless, so no one can use you. Great. Hey, I thought we just got done with poetry. So, all right. So then we've got three options. Do we have another one? Yeah.
Sucking at something is the first step to being sort of good at something.
Great.
The dog.
By who?
The dog. Jake the dog.
Jake the dog from Adventure Time. So can you say it one more time? Sucking at something.
Is the first step to being sort of good at something.
So sucking at something is the first step to being sort of good at something by Jake the dog from Adventure Time. We've got Sun Tzu. We've got Eminem. We've got Sylvia Plath. Hey, my memory's all right so far. All right. Do we have one more option? We could vote on one of these four. Okay, so if we could have just one more time to read these all off.
I desire the things which will destroy me in the end.
I desire the things which will destroy me in the end by Sylvia Plath.
Don't be useful, be useless, so nobody can use you.
Don't be useful, be useless, so no one can use you by Sun Tzu.
Yo, his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy.
By Eminem. And then
Sucking at something is the first step to being sort of good at something.
great. All right, so y'all get to raise your hands once. So who wants to hear Sylvia Plath? Oh, good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, someone remember that for me. So we got 10 there. How about Sun Tzu? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, beating out Sylvia Plath. All right, so knees heavy, mom spaghetti. Who wants to hear Eminem? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, we've got a winner. And so we've got our last one, which is Jake the dog. Sucking at something is the first step to being good at something.
Well, it lost.
Well, just for good measure, who wants to vote for that one? Okay, so it's going to be Eminem. Avellino, if you wouldn't mind lending your calligraphy here. So while Avellino is writing down our quotation, I'm going to be inviting in Stephen Frank, our speaker, and he is going to be preparing right here. And he's going to have 7 minutes in total to both construct and deliver his speech. So I'll be giving him 30-second verbals for his prep. So in the meantime, while he's prepping, if you all wouldn't mind being quiet so that he can gather his thoughts, and we'll go from there. All right. Did you misspell Eminem? Let me see your pen one more time. So why? Yo.
come on in.
So your quotation is up here. And so I'll give you 15 seconds to read the prompts, and then I'll give you 30-second verbals from your prep. Then I'll count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 minute left. This is my 30, my 15. I'll give you the last 5.
Sounds good. All right, good to go?
Yep.
All right, then I'll flip this over now.
That's 15. Prep begins. Thirty seconds. One minute. One minute 30.
In the early 2000s, the now notorious pizza chain, Domino's, saw their sales start to plummet. So in response, they created a new ad campaign proclaiming to the entire world that their pizza sucks. In doing so, they created a community base around the idea that their pizza was terrible. While doing so, they were reinventing their pizza brand, creating a new style of pizza, and overall becoming the now notorious pizza brand we know today. But it's this idea of accepting our nerves and knowing that they're there that reminds us of today's quotation by Eminem, stating, "Yo, his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy." And we can interpret this to mean that nerves exist and we can all have them. And we can agree with this quotation, taking from it that it's okay to be nervous. Where we can see this through two key areas of analysis. First, that our natural thought is to ignore nerves. But second, nerves are a sign that you care. When it came to Domino's, they knew that they were nervous of proclaiming that their pizza sucks. But they knew that it ended up working out in their advantage. But ignoring your nerves is not the immediate thought that people have, leading us to the first key area of analysis, that some people ignore their nerves, and it leads to their failure. But we can see this through two separate examples. First, through Boeing, and second, through Mississippi State football team. First, with Boeing. Boeing is not only struggling with their planes, they're also struggling with their space capsules. Boeing is also invested into the space industry, where nearly 8 months ago, they sent astronauts up to the International Space Stations with the idea to return a few days later. However, as some of us know, these astronauts didn't return until a few weeks ago because they failed to acknowledge a helium leak inside of their capsule. Their nerves should have told them that this was an important mission and they needed to focus on it. Rather, they ignored their nerves, skipping steps on proper safety protocols and leading to a demise to not only their planes, but also to their space capsules. But second, we can look over to the Mississippi State football creative team. When it comes to college football and their recruitment, the busiest time is when they announce their new recruits. And the media team is extremely important with this, coming up with new versions of ads to show their new players. However, Mississippi State, who is struggling with their football team, was coming up with their new recruits, announcing them. But then the same day afterwards, they fired their entire media team, a controversy idea because now their media is non-existent. They were scared of what would happen to the future, but they ignored their nerves, not understanding that it's okay to be nervous, but rather firing their entire team, leaving a questionable future for their media. But ultimately, Domino's was nervous about their proclamation stating that their pizza sucks, but they acknowledged it, taking it as a sign that they care, which is exactly why the population bought into it, because it shows that you care, leading us to the second key area of analysis, that nerves are a sign that you care. Well, we can see this through two separate examples. First, with Mohamed Bezik, and second, with the Krill Company. First, with Mohamed Bezik. Mohamed Bezik was an individual who had to grow up through the foster care system, with a sibling also in the system with a terminal illness. However, when he grew up and left the system, he was looking for a way to give back. In doing so, he fosters individuals with terminal illnesses to give them something to look forward to. This, of course, gave him a lot of nerves because he is now responsible for giving these children something to look forward to. But it's these nerves that show that he cares about the children and the impact he leaves on this world, showing that nerves aren't always a bad thing, but it shows that you care. But second, we can look over to the Krill Company. The Krill Company is a furniture brand based out of Italy, where they were struggling to create new, unique ideas. So they came up with their own solution after feeling their nerves, seeing that they could recycle old coffee grounds and orange peels into 3D printer filament to print new furniture to sell to the market. They were nervous to sell this new style of furniture to the public because it's made out of garbage. But they were able to convince the public that not only was it good furniture, but their nervousness about bringing this to the public is that shows that they care, not only about their customers, but about the environment they are protecting in doing so. Today, we responded to the quotation by Eminem stating, "Yo, his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy." And we agreed with this quotation, taking from it that it's okay to be nervous. And we saw this through two key areas of analysis. First, that our natural thought is to ignore nerves. But second, nerves are a sign that you care. When it came to Domino's, they made multiple new recipes. But ultimately, their fact of stating that their pizza sucks is what gained them an advantage.
Steven's palms weren't sweaty at all during that. That's great. Okay, this will be our last speech for this evening, but we're going to have a whole nother showcase tomorrow night as well with 6 more speakers. But before then, hey, we got this last one to do. So we're going to shift back to public address with persuasive speaking. So our student has selected a topic that she's very passionate about and has provided her own advocacy and solutions. So if you're moved at all by what she has to offer here, you can also help to affect change. So without further ado, Rebecca Langford.
For 147 years, the nuns at St. Joseph's Home for the Aged embodied a philosophy: treat older people like family and facilities that feel like home. Complete with manicured gardens, an aquarium, and highly attentive service, their nursing home was a rare haven for the elderly. However, at the end of 2019, St. Joseph's experienced financial hardship, forcing the nuns to sell, and the COVID-19 pandemic impeded nonprofit buyers. The New York Times on August 25th, 2022 explains, St. Joseph's waited for 2 years, but in the spring of 2021, finally received an offer from a private equity firm. The firm's management company, Accordius Health, promised to keep things as is. But in 2 short weeks, the nursing staff was cut significantly, and the quality of care plummeted. Unfortunately, this drastic shift in care is not isolated. The Center for Nursing Home Abuse on January 27, 2025 found for-profit facilities have lower quality ratings, fewer registered nurses, and more safety violations. Considering Fortune on March 12, 2024 reports, 72% of America's 15,000 nursing homes are owned by for-profit groups. It is vital we analyze the problems, causes, and solutions to for-profit nursing homes. Because, as the director of Accordius Health stated, this isn't about the nurses or residents. This is a business. When Accordius Health took over, St. Joseph's Home for the Aged was renamed Carrollwood Gardens. The aquariums disappeared. The kitchen's eclectic menu, gone. Some mornings, only 2 nursing aides were left to care for 72 beds. Let's look at the problems within for-profit nursing homes. Worse care and overworked staff. First, the quality of care. When for-profit groups take over, residents suffer. The National Bureau of Economic Research in March of 2023 found patients in these facilities experienced a 6% decrease in mobility, a 9% increase in ulcer development, and an 11% increase in pain intensity and patient mortality. For patients like 85-year-old Ruby Frazier, this experience is all too familiar. Her family told CBS News on June 3rd, 2024, when Ruby entered the private equity-owned Oakland Heights facility, she hoped to make a quick recovery after a fall at home. However, Ruby found herself being continuously ignored by staff, and her health quickly declined. On one visit, her family found her gasping for air. The ER diagnosed her with bed sores, pneumonia, and severe sepsis. Ruby died 6 months later. Next, nurses aren't negligent. They're being stretched dangerously thin. The Economic Policy Institute on June 4th, 2024 explains, while government and nonprofit facilities have an average of 4.2 nursing hours per resident each day, for-profit facilities have an average of 3.6 hours. When a facility has fewer nursing hours, the nurses who are working are forced to work long, strenuous shifts, inevitably endangering patients. One anonymous nurse shared with the aforementioned CBS News, patients in her facility rarely receive medication on time, and labs aren't reported in a timely manner. The nurse furthers, when we tried to call upper management, they wouldn't pick up the phone. They just leave us short on the floor. Nurses and residents alike are suffering, and for-profit companies don't care. In April of 2024, the Biden-Harris administration sought to address issues of understaffing in nursing homes. However, NPR on April 24th, 2024 explains, their plan didn't come close to requiring sufficient hours for quality care, and the plan was unfunded. So while owning companies continued to profit, facility managers were left unable to afford competitive wages for more hours, revealing 2 causes: overcharging and obscuring funds. First, facilities are being overcharged by the companies that own them. Politico on December 24th, 2023 highlights, for-profit companies charge their own facilities rent and management fees, and they do so at an alarmingly high rate. These companies can drive more operational costs, but why? The National Consumer Voice for Quality Long-Term Care on June 3rd, 2024 explains, these companies overcharge so that they can then turn around and say, we don't have enough money to pay for staff. And this method works. Facility managers believe this illusion that they can't afford competitive wages for more hours, all while owning companies are behind the curtains, lining their own pockets. Next, for-profit companies divert money away from direct resident care through related party transactions, and they're able to pocket the profits. The National Bureau of Economic Research in March of 2023 estimates 63% of profits were secretly siphoned to companies through inflated rent and management fees paid to other companies owned by the nursing home's investors. The Conversation on March 12, 2024 explains, this obscuring of funds is crafted to minimize liability,
capitalize on favorable tax policy, diminish regulatory scrutiny, and disguise nursing home profitability through this convoluted system. For-profit companies are able to hide their profits and in turn advocate for looser regulations because they don't have the funds to improve the current system. In the fall of 2020, my grandmother, Dee Dee, entered a for-profit nursing home. Because of COVID restrictions, my family and I were unable to visit her. We trusted the facility to take care of her. On one afternoon, her nephrologist went to check on her, and we found out she hadn't been fed in a week and lost 30 pounds. Alone in her room, she was unable to advocate for herself or her care. She passed away 4 years ago this month. We must explore solutions, both long-term and current. First, long-term change on a federal level. McKnight's Long-Term Care News on January 16, 2025 explains, under Biden, the Department of Health and Human Services called for more transparency of funds in long-term care. But our current administration is likely to ignore this call. Now, more than ever, we need to advocate for patients in these facilities. This QR code takes you to a letter to send to your representatives, urging them to pass requirements that follow recommendations for quality care, as well as full transparency on related party transactions. This reform will keep companies accountable to provide the dignified care patients deserve. Everyone in this room will experience long-term care or love someone who needs it. We need a system we can trust. Finally, while governmental change is necessary, it'll take time. We can't leave behind the patients suffering in these facilities today. This same QR code takes you to a link tree with a Twitter account to share your own experiences, a list name-dropping the companies plaguing the system, and an advocacy toolkit. It also has a safe facility locator, as well as one specifically for LGBTQ safe spaces. With advocacy and information, we can improve the individual lives under our warped healthcare system, and hopefully change the system as we go. The nuns at St. Joseph's Home for the Aged work diligently to treat older people like family in facilities that feel like home. The loss of their efforts is why we looked at the problems, causes, and solutions to America's broken nursing home system. Our current system has profited off of the neglect of patients like Ruby Frazier and my grandmother for far too long. Thankfully, we can ensure that their neglect is never forgotten and future patients get the care they deserve.
Thank you so very much, Rebecca. Thank you to everyone that was in here, even some of you that have driven a long way to be here as well. Thank you to everyone on the YouTube link as well. And for any of you, if you enjoyed tonight, please come back for our last night tomorrow night. It'll be the same bat time, same bat channel here in Doster Hall, room 104. Or if you're one of my students and you want to get more extra credits, I give you more points tomorrow as well. And if you are one of my students, if you will come down here after we're done. Yeah. And you'll take a selfie with this and you'll upload it on the Blackboard. I'll give you points for tonight. Thank you all again so very much. I hope you have an excellent night.